Hello, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of Send Them Off. We have three people here again. It's kind of shocking. Sorry to fire a shot at you, but I have to get my licks in now before I have to do the duty of handing you the captain's armband. So, Tommy Kolkus, thank you for joining me. I hate your guts this week for winning the fantasy. Devin, always a pleasure, though.
Yes.
We're going to get right in. Devin has yet another exam to go to. We're going to try to go quicker than usual. Get right in for why I'm pissed off this weekend, at least, and why Kirklees is behind us. Huddersfield 2, Man U 1. As usual, we're starting with Premier League. Guys, I obviously have a lot to say, but for the sake of time, Devin, how do you feel this game kind of showcased United and what this means for them going forward?
I thought I was watching, earlier in the year, we talked about, we were seeing a new United, a United that was fun to watch, that you actually tuned into the games and you could enjoy watching.
Even I didn't like watching those the last 2 years.
This game felt like I had flashback a few years ago and was watching the Man United under Louis van Gaal when they're playing completely uninspired. I honestly was bored. I'm sorry, but I was bored watching this game. There was no creativity coming from the Manchester United players, and they didn't seem to want to be there. And of course, you can assume that's not you assume that's not actually the case.
Yeah, you assume they're trying.
Yeah, but as it was,
I don't know though.
Huddersfield to me deserved to win that game just because of the way they approached it tactically, the way the players stuck with the system, and they took their chances, and so they got to win.
I know for me, I definitely did not like how the team played. As you said, they didn't look into it. They didn't. It all seemed like they wanted to be there, really. But still, I don't feel as bad about it, given these absolute slew of injuries we have, specifically in defense and the midfield. Our forwards are pretty okay, but we have Jones is out, Bailly's out, Rojo all out in the back, Pogba, Carrick, and Fellaini all out in the midfield. We had basically a youth squad left at that point. But Jones and Rashford and Bailly are all training, at least today. They're all in training today, so we could get them back for the big matchup this weekend against Tottenham. But even then, they're not going to be 100%, so I fear the worst against Tottenham. What about you, Tommy?
Against Tottenham?
Well, just in general from what you saw from the Huddersfield game and also looking forward to Tottenham.
Pretty much what you were echoing with the injuries. I'm in agreement with that because pretty much every season I feel like Real Madrid experiences the same thing, at least at some point during the year. But I think the biggest loss for Man United over the last few weeks has been Pogba being out.
Yeah.
People like
he
to
looked
rag.
amazing for the first,
right.
I want to say
creative
month or so
influence,
that he actually played.
People like to rag on him for the price tag and everything, and that was justified last season, but he's still...
I would say the first 3 quarters of last season. He actually showed up near the end.
Right, but, he's still easily the best midfielder that Manchester United has by a wide margin.
Yeah, you're comparing him to Carrick and Fellaini and Herrera and Matic, who are both... they're both over their peak.
Don't forget Juan Mata.
Good old Juan Mata. They're not really the same kind of player, though.
I love that.
Juan Mata is more of a more false 9.
Yeah.
And then... false 9-10, and then maybe out wide, although I don't like when we play him out wide. But,
fair point.
But speaking of that big matchup against Tottenham this weekend, Tottenham taking care of business, beating 9th Liverpool. And they're getting Dembele and Danny Rose back, possibly, that's not guaranteed, this weekend. Do you think that, especially if they beat United, that Tottenham is going to be the closest competitor to City this year?
Yes. Even now, if this game ends in anything but a Manchester United win, and a convincing one at that, I still think Tottenham right now has shown they are the best title contender aside from Manchester City.
Two.
Yeah. This was, we can always look at this Liverpool game and go, Liverpool has had defensive difficulties all year. They showcased this again. But this was still an impressive display by Tottenham. A very convincing game at Wembley, where they were supposed to, have been struggling.
Yeah.
And so this could be a sign that Tottenham's gotten over those Wembley woes. They finally
It's great phrase, by the way.
Yes. And they have finally kind of gotten into their stride. Last year they did the same thing. They started the first few games, a lot of draws. Didn't lose, but they had a bunch of draws at the beginning of last year, fell behind in the table, kind of caught up towards the end.
But that bad start cost them.
It did. So hopefully we'll see a better final push from them this year. But I do think Tottenham is definitely my favorite for second or potential winner aside from Man City right now. Yes.
I would completely agree with that statement. Manchester United would probably be my other team that I would throw in at second, but I don't think there's really anybody that's super convincing outside of Tottenham and Manchester City.
Do we think that at this point at least still there's still a three horses in it? Do we see? I mean, personally, I think if Man U gets back to how we started the season, when we get healthy, and I mean these injuries are kind of all over the place. They're just not really, some are longer. I mean, Pogba should be getting healthy soon, but. Carrick and Fellaini look like they're going to be out for at least another couple weeks. But if we see United play like that again, do we see them getting close? Maybe that actually hurts Man U and Tottenham. Maybe they I'm not necessarily beat up against each other. They only play each other twice, but maybe they kind of push too hard.
Well, I mean, honestly, I think, as weird it is for us to say, it is almost November, and
it is
almost November, and the Manchester derby that comes up in the very beginning of December will, be a pivotal point, whether or not Manchester United is going to challenge at all. If they lose that game, I think it's pretty much done and dusted
especially
at that point.
Especially if they lose to Tottenham as well.
Yeah, so, I think from a Manchester United standpoint and from Tom's standpoint, because of it, if United lose this game to Tottenham and also lose the Manchester derby in about a month and 2 weeks or so, then they are effectively out of the race. So I think those are just some really key dates to keep track of.
Without a key collapse from City or Tottenham.
Yeah.
If United beat Tottenham and then City beat United, I think that the Premier League might as well be over by December.
That's fair because, it'd be hard for other team to catch up.
They're already, 5 points behind now?
They opened up a 5-point lead. I honestly... I've been saying this for a long time. Don't want to beat a dead horse, but I feel like it's City's not obviously not got it in the bag yet. But I think City's it's theirs to lose already. And yes, technically, mathematically, it is. But it really is. It feels like they are in control of the Premier League.
They're not a complete team by any means, but they're probably the most complete team in the Premier League.
They have had the best roster in the Premier League for the past 3 seasons. It's just taken this long for them to actually play the way they should.
Right, and nobody in the Premier League is really well equipped to attack that midfield that starts De Bruyne and Silva, both the central midfield.
Yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of teams that aren't playing as well as they should, the City are now, but they weren't before. Everton, good Lord. That's how I'm going to describe them. 18th in the table. Now, granted, they're tied with, I think, 2 other teams at the 8th spot. But Koeman's out. They lost 5-2 to Arsenal this week at Goodison Park. They were at home, too. Giving up 5 goals to Arsenal is sad to begin with, even at home. So what do we think about the decision to get rid of Koeman and potential replacement?
Plain and simple, the decision to get rid of him, I think, I'm typically hesitant to whenever clubs quickly get rid of their managers. I'm still a bit hurt that Bayern got rid of Ancelotti, back when they did. I felt that was premature.
They were still, they were still performing.
Yeah.
Everton,
That situation was a little different, though.
Yeah.
Ancelotti had lost the locker room.
Yeah, but this is this I think is something. Yeah, this is something that I think. You look at this Everton team, and you came in when we came in looking at the season, we thought Everton, they might finally,
They probably had the best transfer window.
They spent a lot of money.
They spent a lot of money. They brought in one of my favorite players,
and
Sigurdsson, tier for Sigurdsson, but
pour one out.
Yeah, I think this is a decision that unfortunately had to be made because as it stands, they were not getting results or playing anywhere close to the caliber of players that they have or they should expect to play at. So, as for replacements, I know you were talking about Ryan Giggs. He had thrown his name out there.
He's thrown his name before, earlier in the week before Leicester made their decision on a new manager, which we'll get to in a second.
Yeah.
I think if you're an Everton
Giggs,
fan...
he threw his hand in saying that he wants a Premier League job.
Yeah, so...
I think if you're an Everton fan, the one guy that has to be number 1 on your bucket list is Thomas Tuchel. The former Dortmund manager. Because right now, what Everton
should have been picked up by Bayern, honestly.
Because honestly, what Everton's lacking are chances. And there's nothing that Tuchel does better than create an offensive system that's effective.
Yeah.
I think with the new signings coming in, I feel like Koeman just did not know how to handle all of them. I feel like he didn't know where to get him in because, like, we've seen all these players that have come in, none of them have looked as good as they did other places.
Not even close.
Yeah, and I feel like it's not necessarily a credit to them. You can only do so much as one player on the pitch.
I guess that's the thing is they've looked like singular players on the pitch. You know, that has been the problem is they've been 11 singular players, I feel. So
now, guys, we're talking about managers. They are nearing relegation. Does that mean Big Sam is going to come to Everton just to make sure they don't get relegated?
As long as it keeps them away from the U.S. men's
job.
national team job, I'll be okay with that.
But speaking of relegation, do we think that they are going down? Do we see they're still too good?
Too talented.
There's absolutely no way. Like, you can play the most garbage system, but when you have like that much talent, then you're going to win a game here and there. Like, just based on the talent you have. Yeah, like
that
there's
one moment of brilliance.
Yeah, like there's enough players on that team to have those moment of brilliances frequently enough to get them out of relegation. Like, they're not going down. But
Wayne Rooney gonna take them to glory. So we talked about I briefly mentioned Leicester's new manager, who's I'm gonna butcher his name. I want to say Claude Puel. Is that how you say that? Former Southampton manager from last year. He actually was Koeman's replacement, so it's kind of funny that we're talking about him now. He led Southampton to an 8th place finish. So how do we think he's going to do at Leicester? I mean, obviously he's probably not going to do what Ranieri did. But Ranieri was also not there that long. So do we see longevity for him as well?
Tommy, I'm going to defer to you on this one.
Honestly, with how turbulent Leicester's coaching position has been lately and just the Premier League in general, it's hard for me to see any manager at a mid-table club lasting more than a season or two. But
I think that's why these clubs are mid-table clubs.
Right.
I think they don't trust a manager long enough. Like we saw, I want to say like Arsene Wenger. Like Arsenal weren't quite Arsenal before he got there.
Right.
They trusted him long enough. Like yes, they were still a good club. They were still better than most, but they weren't quite, the perennial 4th place team that they were until they gave Wenger a long time. So I feel like that's kind of a problem, and I hope at least just in the just for mid-table clubs sticking with manager longer. I hope they give him a while. I mean, he did pretty well at Southampton. 8th place isn't that bad, especially with Southampton. Especially, I mean, they've lost pretty much everyone to Liverpool. So, I mean, I feel like
they've been pillaged by Liverpool.
I feel like he's still got enough talent there at Leicester to do all right. What do we see? Do we see just mid-table? Maybe
mid-table, but I do
see breaking in the top 10 or.
Yes, I see them finishing probably 9th or 10th.
I'm gonna say 8th, just because that's where he went last year.
Yeah, it's just I'm kind of with you. I always think managers are released too quickly. They're never given a chance. Hard times come with any sports team. And especially one with Leicester, who was at hard times before just random. Yeah. Random season. And as weird as to say, it's almost like they remember. Of course, they're not going to forget, but they remember that so fondly that whenever you're not pushing in the top 6 or so, suddenly you're like, we won the title. What are we doing? We have the talent, but you lost Conte. That was a miraculous season with the big teams not playing like they should. Like that was just a crazy set of circumstance. So I mean, hopefully this new manager, he can from Southampton, because I don't want to say his name and butcher it as well. He can come in. He can come in and just kind of stabilize it, and hopefully he can maybe set a precedent for mid-table managers, and stay there a bit longer. So that's what I hope to see from all of this.
Now we're gonna move over into Italy now, a league we don't actually talk about that much. No. But it's hard not to at the moment, especially with Napoli absolutely flying. They had won every game in the Serie A season up until this past weekend, or I think it was the weekend before, maybe.
Yeah.
Because they beat Genoa 3-2 or something. But they're still undefeated. I'm pretty sure. I think it was a draw.
The draw. I think it was 0-0 to Inter.
0-0 to Inter, who is in 2nd place. We'll get to that in a second. Do we see Napoli being, I guess, the city of Serie A? Like, it's in their hands at this moment. Do we think they can still have the success? I'm looking to Tommy here.
No way. Juventus started really slowly last year and then went on an absolute tear through the league. They started kind of slow again this year.
Moderately slow.
They're what are they, only 3 or 4 points back from the top?
3 points back.
3, yeah.
I don't see Napoli playing this well all season, especially if they get into the later stages of the Champions League. They're just not going to have enough bodies.
We'll get to that in a second because they're currently not in a spot.
Yeah, they're currently not doing well.
Right. I don't know.
Actually, right now they're currently in a Europa League place, which is even worse. More games.
Yeah, I mean, I want Napoli to win Serie A. I think it'd be good for the league, but I just don't see anyone other than Juventus winning it.
Okay, so let me counter that with currently we have Inter as well.
In second, yeah.
2 points behind, and they also have not lost a game. They just have one more draw than Napoli. Does this get a little bit more interesting because it's not just Juventus against some upstart team? There's technically like two of them, and could this prove a little bit more difficult?
Usually what you see in Serie A is you get a few upstart teams that'll pop up in the beginning. Inter Milan was that upstart team 2 seasons ago. Mm-hmm. They were top of the table, and then Juventus regained its footing, and they always catch back up. I mean, Juventus, the talent level they have is just at such a higher level than everybody else in the league, and that's just a result of that.
You're trying to diss my boy Dries Mertens right now.
I love Dries Mertens.
I think this will probably be the hardest year in some time for Juve to catch back.
I hope so.
I think all of the Serie A bigger clubs.
If
we look at the table, which luckily enough I've printed out because I don't have that good of a memory. We've got Napoli, Inter in front of them, but Lazio and Roma behind them. Lazio and Roma, they're not going to challenge for the title this year. Roma had their chance last year, basically. But I think they are good enough to at least slow them down, maybe hinder them, maybe take points away from them.
Get a draw when they're home against Juventus, stuff like that, yeah.
Even, maybe even take a plucky win from them at home. But even, take points away from them when they're on the road at Juventus would be huge. So I think this would probably be the hardest season for Juve in some time. I think... honestly, I don't think that Juve is going to win again. I think this is going to be a year that streak finally ends.
What has it been, 5? No, that's the Bundesliga. Yeah. It's been longer than that.
Longer.
Yeah. Sorry, I was crossing over my leagues.
Yeah, I think it's closer to 7 or 8, maybe more.
I really hope so, because I think it's great when teams that normally win, suddenly there's another team that enters the fray, because everyone takes interest. Everyone takes interest. Like here, we're talking about the Serie A because right now Juventus is not in first place. They're not even in second place right now. So I agree.
I think as long as the other big clubs I mentioned, Napoli, Inter, even the other Milan, who isn't doing great, they're in 8th, but they play Juve this weekend. I think if they can beat up on Juve and avoid beating up each other too much, that's going to be the big problem.
I was just about to say, if Juventus is going to lose the league, it's got to be a collaborative effort by all these different teams.
You got to propel two above the other. Yeah. So I think as long as Napoli and Inter can get business done against the other big clubs, they will definitely fight for this. I don't see Lazio or Roma coming up. I think it's going to be probably Napoli. I think has the best chance.
Like I said, I would love to be proved wrong. I love Napoli.
Yeah,
I love watching them play.
The Napoli team is fantastic as well. I think that's probably a close second to Juve in terms of talent.
Jorginho from Napoli is the most underrated player in the entire continent.
All right, there you have it. Said, done. That should be a UEFA award, most underrated player. And it would still be won by a Real Madrid player somehow. But we're going to move on to another league we don't talk about quite as much, the Bundesliga, which Devin has unfortunately mixed up with Serie A last time.
Yeah, sorry, Bayern. No, that's not right. It's okay.
You're the league title wins. Yeah. That's where you were. But yeah, Bayern and Dortmund tied atop of the table right now. Again, don't understand the firing of Ancelotti, but that's behind us now. And Leipzig is only 1 point behind them. And Leipzig and Bayern play this weekend in a huge matchup, especially considering Bayern and Leipzig played yesterday in the Deutscher Pokal. And Leipzig did not field their strongest team, and Keita got sent off, and it still went to penalties. And Bayern played pretty much their best 11. So do we see Bayern struggling this year and maybe Dortmund or Leipzig copping a title?
I think you'll see Bayern struggle a lot. They haven't been at their best all year. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure that's going to change with the managerial change, even though the manager they have now, I'm going to butcher his name if I say it, That's why
like
I'm not.
Heinrichs or
I'm kind of
like
avoiding it.
I think it's Heinrichs.
They played so well under him about 5 years ago. I mean, they demolished Barcelona 7-0 on aggregate in the semifinals of the Champions League.
Oh,
but,
he's so happy right now.
but they're not.
Smile.
They're not playing that same way right now. At least their midfield looks better, and Koeman is playing over Ribery in more matches, which are both good starts that Bayern fans wanted to see. But I don't know. I still don't.
You don't know if the change is going to come quick enough.
I'm still not sold on Bayern. I think this weekend is going to tell us a lot about them.
I also, I'm going to counter that by saying I don't think Dortmund is as good as they were 2-3 years ago either. No. I think, honestly, Leipzig not necessarily has the best chance to win the league, but this is probably their best chance to win the league.
I agree.
I think that Leipzig, they lost a couple pieces from last year, but they still have Timo Werner, who they didn't even play the full game against Bayern, and he was the one who actually missed the penalty that made them lose. That's kind of sad.
Will Chiesa play this weekend?
I don't know because I try to look at the domestic cup rules because I know for some nations it's different.
I would assume though, typically if you get a red in one domestic cup, you only are out from the next match of a domestic cup if you're in it.
That said, bad news for Liverpool fans, at least for Keita is concerned. Keita has 3 red cards in his last 7 games played. That's in all competitions. That's including World Cup qualifying and in the league.
Oh, that's fun.
Good. He'll be fine.
Yeah.
No. Do we just need another kicking of Ederson, and then we're fine?
Somebody else to bro kick Ederson next year.
Yeah.
But what about you, Devin? How do you feel about this Bundesliga title race?
I just think it's really great that suddenly we're talking about these leagues. And there's 3 and 4 teams.
Yeah.
You know, as odd as it is, the Premier League is the one that we're just like, oh, it's pretty cut and dry right now.
Yeah, even La Liga, which unfortunately we don't have time to cover, and it's actually not that great of a week as far as matches this week.
Yeah, because we checked.
They have it's Barca, Valencia, and then Madrid.
You know, that's interesting.
Yeah. Resurgent Valencia this season, something to look forward to.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just think it's great. Like, I'm so excited that we get to talk about all these different leagues and new teams kind of coming into the fray for title hopes and seeing different talent on display. So that's just great.
And now let's move to the biggest of all leagues, the Champions League.
Yes.
Not technically a league, although I would love for them to do that once. Just do one short league season.
This isn't your FIFA dreams.
It's FIFA, gosh. So the key games that are coming up this next weekend. This next week, should I say, next Tuesday and Thursday, we got Napoli versus Man City again, which ended City winning 2-1 last time. Tottenham and Real Madrid will replay their 1-1 draw from last round, and Roma and Chelsea after an amazing 3-3 draw.
I actually watched that game. That was thrilling.
They're gonna do it again. What is the most the biggest game? Do you think this week?
It's hard to pick one for the biggest because literally, for the most part, the Roma-Chelsea game, the winner of the Roma-Chelsea game probably goes on to win the group. And if there is a winner to this game, Atletico is also in the same group. And right now, currently, Atletico is out and struggling, not only in the Champions League, but also in their normal, in their normal league. They're just not creating chances. They don't look the same. Their defense is not even close to what it was 2 years ago when they just were almost, couldn't get past them for anything.
Yeah. Just for clarification on that, in Group C, Chelsea's on 7, Roma's on 5, and Atleti's on 2. And their last game, they drew Karabag. How do you say that?
Yeah.
0-0. They didn't even score on them.
So if Roma wins this game,
it's a group.
That's
entertaining.
Yeah.
If
Chelsea wins this game, Atletico still has a shot. So this is big. This is a big game because there's other teams that are involved that directly involved to the result of this game.
I know. I think I know which one you're gonna say is the biggest.
You're wrong.
But for me, it's Roma, Chelsea.
It's Napoli, Man City, isn't it?
I was gonna say Napoli, Man City because this time it's in Napoli, and if you've ever watched a game,
it's thrilling
in Napoli Stadium. It is
Stadio
lively. It is lively. But I mean, Tottenham, Real Madrid. It's probably the number 2 game for me. I mean, the last Roma Chelsea game was great, but I'm biased as a Real Madrid fan.
I think that's got the biggest importance on it though, because I feel like a Roma win kind of almost not officially knocks Atleti out, but makes it very difficult for Atleti.
Well, I mean, Tottenham, Real Madrid might decide their group this week too.
Yeah, but there's not really a third team. It already
feels like Dortmund's out. Dortmund's on 1 point, and Real Madrid and Tottenham are each on 7. So I mean, Dortmund's level with Apoel. So
yeah, so that typically I would go for that one, but the winner of that wins the group. The loser of that probably advances still.
Yeah.
I mean, if Dortmund beats Apoel and then, say, Tottenham loses to Madrid, then Dortmund's only 3 points back from Tottenham, and they get them back at the yellow wall in just a few weeks.
There's a few moving parts, but there's a lot more ifs with that one.
There's a reason why all of these are the key games for discussion.
Yeah.
I will make one point about the Napoli-Man City game, which is, again, that's a big game.
No, I would like
Napoli's only on 3 points as well. They are behind Shakhtar, who's on 6. I think City has won every game so far.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another big game. If Napoli can't win that, it's going to be hard for them as well.
Yeah, and on top of that, watching the first Man City Napoli game, the first half, Man City was absolutely dominant.
You're right.
There was, lights out. They were the only ones playing. And then you
only 11 people on the pitch.
And then Napoli suddenly
clicked,
woke up.
And
Napoli became Napoli.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting. Napoli struggled in the Champions League. If they want to advance, they're going to, I think, need to win this game, or at least they're going to have to get a result from this game. If they lose this game, they're in a lot of trouble.
If you remember last season, Napoli struggled in the group stage too. They had Leverkusen, Tottenham, and Monaco all in their group, and I think they finished. Yeah, they finished top by 1 point, but I think they only had 9 points from 6 games.
Oh, wow.
So I think Napoli's best performances will come in the later stages of the Champions League, but
they got to get there first.
They got to get there first.
Yeah.
I think one more thing I want to throw into that is if a team like Napoli, I think, falls to the Europa League, they have to be obviously favorites to win it, but I don't know how much they're going to put into it.
I think it's going to depend on their league position.
I think they'll be fine. I think they know they'll be fine in the league. They are easily one of the top 3 teams in Italy. I don't think they're going to have a problem getting back into the Champions League. I honestly, if I was them, I would rest people. It wasn't like, Man U last year, the reason why we played our best teams except for playing Sergio Romero for some reason in the Europa League, because that was our way. We figured out that was our way into the Champions League. I feel like it's kind of upsetting when we see these better teams drop from the Champions League and then kind of not like tank, but then play B squads because they don't feel it's that important.
Right. Lowers the quality of
even
play.
More of the Europa League.
Right.
So we're gonna actually fairly quickly, I guess, move to our quick fire. MLS playoffs are finally here after a long, oddly paced season in the MLS. Just real quick, guys, give me who you think is going to win each conference and who's going to triumph and hold the MLS Cup.
Tom, I've got to be perfectly honest with you. I have not been keeping up with the MLS, and that is a sad statement. But ever since the U.S. lost, I've been off of U.S. soccer. Yeah, and I feel like we talked about that. That's a terrible result, and we should not do that. But
that's the price we paid from the U.S. men's national team. But we're gonna avoid that.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Seattle over Toronto in the MLS final.
Of course you are. Now, we full disclosure, both of us will pick picking our teams from the West. Now, that said, each one of us is in the top 2 seeds in the West, so it's not that insane. I'm going really boring. I'm picking the number 1 seeds from each side. I can't not pick my Portland Timbers, but I think they're going to lose to Toronto in the MLS Cup. I'm not completely insane. Toronto looks completely unstoppable. They had the highest number of points in MLS season, only by 1, but still, that was a record that has stood since 1998. When the LA Galaxy did it, they had 69 points this year. For me, I don't really see who's going to beat them, but they haven't done so well in the playoffs.
You have to remember though, final is one game. It's one game. It's one game.
And you could be like Portland and have a ball that goes completely out of bounds and score and win.
Right.
So I'll take it.
All right. So I've got to go.
Right.
Rather soon.
So
under the radar UCL, the Champions League game. Which game is really important that maybe we didn't talk about?
Not that it's important, but I think it could low-key be a very good game. Sporting Portugal versus Juventus in Portugal.
Yeah, okay. The games in Portugal are always really interesting. I'm going with Besiktas Monaco. Yes. Because Monaco are actually, I believe, 3rd in the group at the moment. They need to get something done, and just at least for their own spirits, I guess, and to get their footing in the group, I feel like they need to win big. Like, this is at Besiktas. It needs to be a statement win. And
they're not going to win big at Besiktas.
And Besiktas is hard place. Anywhere really in Eastern Europe is a hard place to go.
And currently Besiktas is winning the group. 9 points out of 9 points.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
they win this game, they're through. I think this is probably one of the most important games that certainly we're not talking about, but it's probably one of the most important games anyway.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that was going to be mine as well.
Yours as well? Same reasons?
Same
Echoing?
reasons. Same reasons.
All right.
Echoing everything.
What a way to finish. What controversy. All right. Well, that's all for us because Devin now has to literally sprint to his exam. It's been fun as always. I hope to win that armband back.
You're not winning it back.
Devin's probably going to get it back. I don't know. Harry Kane, it should go on, not you, really. But that's all for us. We'll see you guys next time.